Hello, and welcome to the Style Matters podcast, brought to you by Little Yellow Couch. I'm Sandra, your host and creator of the slow style approach to designing your dream home. This signature framework puts you at the front and center of your home rather than products or trends or other people's ideas of what beauty looks like. And speaking of which, you can start using the slow style framework to create that dream home by signing up for my free masterclass called The Number One Reason Your Home Doesn't Look and Feel the Way You Want It to. You'll come away knowing how to make sure you're spending money on your home much more wisely, or even not spending at all. And you'll have the confidence to really lean into a style that truly represents who you are without worrying that you'll regret your choices. So as I've said, it's free, it's live on Zoom, and I'll be staying for Q&A after. Go to littleyellowcouch.com and click on Masterclass at the top to sign up. I'm only doing these for a few days at the end of May, so be sure to sign up and choose your date right away. Okay, go to littleyellowcouch.com, click on Masterclass. I hope to see you there. On to today's episode. This is such a delightful episode thanks to my guest, stylist Dee Campling. She's just come out with a book called Camper Heaven, Van Life on the Open Road. And if you're imagining hippies living in VW buses back in the 70s, you won't believe how that lifestyle has evolved. Dee shares the many ways and reasons people are creating these homes on wheels, from decked out ski chalet style horse trailers to modest but beautiful portable weekend vacation spots. But what's so great is Dee's enthusiasm for the whole endeavor. She's so wonderful to talk with that you're going to be inspired to buy a camper van by the end of this episode. I know I was. Here's Dee. Dee Campling, welcome to the Style Matters podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're going to talk about this really fun book, Camper Heaven. And as soon as Meg from the publishing company sent it my way, I said, oh my gosh, yes, this is so much fun. We've never talked about anything like this on the show before.
Great.
Yeah. So first of all, we're gonna get into your background. I know you're a stylist and you work with a lot of different companies. So your background is definitely in the design realm, and you have such a great eye for it. But that'll probably get woven into our conversation later. First, we just have to right away define a camper van. I don't know if we call them something different in the States, but basically, what are you talking about when we say camper van?
So what I'm talking about is like slightly different to what's in the US, I think. I think you probably know, you'll probably have RVs, don't you?
Yes.
Recreational vehicles, which are bigger.
Right, bigger.
They're much bigger because you have got lovely big roads. And in the UK,
everything is bigger in the US. Our plate size, our house, like it's ridiculous. We're on steroids here, but go ahead.
Well, you've got lovely big wide highways, so you can fit nice big vehicles on it. Whereas in the UK, obviously we've got our highways, our motorways too, but a lot of our the places where you might want to take a camper van to, such as Devon and Cornwall, for instance, they're single track lanes designed just for like farm vehicles, the tractors.
Right.
So we can't have them as big here, or if you do have it big, you're restricted as to where you can go with it. So when I'm talking about a camper van, I mean a panel van. This is not my definition. This is the definition. Mm-hmm. A panel van of any size, but they're usually like enough to sort of sleep 4 up to 6 people, that have been built by a manufacturer to be a builder's van or any kind of vehicle, and they have then been taken by an individual or a company and converted into a camper van. So some manufacturers will send a number of their new vehicles to a particular company to do the conversions for them. Or you would buy a blank panel van, an empty van, and do it yourself, or with the help of a contractor. So my version of, I understand camper vans are a medium-sized multi-purpose vehicle that have been then converted into a camper van to suit your particular needs.
Right. And there's the classic VW van look that some of them have, but then there's also ones like a horse trailer, I think. And
Absolutely,
I
yeah,
mean, they
yeah.
really, yeah, it can be anything. It's just, but I think the size is key because they're all very cozy and they certainly make use of every square inch of
Every inch.
space. Yes.
What I try to do in the book is cover a whole range of sizes of
Yeah.
van and a whole range of ages of van. So you've got brand new through back to really vintage like 1960s camper vans.
Yeah.
I've tried to cover all kind of budgets as well. So some of them have
Yes.
been done on a real budget. Some have been done without that in mind.
Right.
So what I've tried to do is show that anyone can do this with any vehicle really, depending on your requirements and
Yeah.
what materials you've got available to you, and what you're, again, in the States you can have much bigger, you can go much bigger. In the UK you have to go smaller, but if you do go bigger in the UK, I think I've said this on the two horse boxes we talked about, which
Yep.
I didn't actually want to have two horse boxes in there because that's they're too similar, but the guys who've done them have done such an amazing job with the interior. It was so
Yes.
inspiring. I couldn't leave one out. So it was difficult. I wanted to make sure it was a broad range, but you can't help sometimes when something's so good. You think, I'm going to have to talk about that because I can't. I'm just fascinated by what they've done here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
and they
yeah,
are, and inspiring is definitely the word. I mean, all of
yeah,
these, if you love design, I mean, this is such a delightful book. And I think probably some people are going to actually get hooked on the idea of living this. Well, the subtitle of your book, Van Life on the Open Road.
yeah.
But not everybody lives in the full time, and we'll talk
No.
about that too. But you are a stylist, and uh, you also own a camper van. So is that why you wanted to write the book? I mean, was that you wanted
Well,
to just talk about your
yeah.
own story?
Well, I've always wanted to write a book. So I was very lucky that Riley and Peter Small actually asked me to write the book about it when they saw
Hmm.
that I'd done one myself.
Okay.
So at the start of, so I've always been into camping and outdoor living, and we've always camped in a tent. Um, and we've got to the age now where, you know what, I am quite hardcore. I don't mind roughing it a bit, but
Okay.
I need my home comforts a bit more now. And about 3 years ago, my husband and I went camping, and it was so windy we couldn't get our tent up. We ended
Oh,
up sleeping in. We like tried for hours. This tent was just
you're
flapping in the wind. We were like, oh
kidding.
god. So we slept in our van, our
Right.
normal van, just because we couldn't sleep anywhere else. And we were like, this is so much nicer in here, even though we were on the floor of our. It was nothing there. It was just
Yeah.
it was waterproof and it was windproof. We were
And
like,
windproof,
this
right.
is so much better. What are we thinking? We're way too old for this camping malarkey. So we'd always wanted to do one anyway. And that was the last straw that made us do
Oh.
it. Then the pandemic came along, and we
Hmm.
had the time. So we actually bought a van and did one during the pandemic. So we were very lucky to have
Well,
that
and also, of
opportunity.
course, nobody wants to go to hotels and you can't get on an airplane. And so
Well,
this is like
exactly.
the perfect
Yeah.
solution.
All these things are woven in, I think, because I think during the pandemic, you couldn't go anywhere, but
Yeah.
you could go for walks. I mean, I don't know what it was like for you, but we were all out walking all the time because that's all we were
Yes.
allowed to do.
Yeah. We all
And
became outdoor lovers. And yeah,
exactly, yeah.
yeah.
And I think it taught us to appreciate those moments so much more, and that there's that time outside. And things were scary, weren't they? So it was like focusing on the detail of nature, and enjoying the weather, and the seasons became a thing for us all to
Right.
focus on. And we couldn't go anywhere anyway. So actually, the thought of a camper van, it became even more sensible because you could then build on that appreciation for nature we'd all developed. Plus, it was safe because you could isolate in this van as well. So
Yeah.
you can travel if you're allowed to go
Yeah.
very far, but you didn't have to didn't have to mix anywhere. You were in a hotel or anywhere public.
And you could change your scenery and get out of your house.
Exactly. And people I know who've got camper vans would just sleep in their camper van on the drive for the night just for a change of scenery.
Wow.
And if you couldn't go anywhere even. So we can come on to that in a minute as well, because lots of people I know use their camper vans just as spare bedrooms on their drive as well.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Or a
Well,
spare
so describe yours for us. I mean, I'm going to have as many photos as you'll give us on the show
sure,
notes
yeah.
page.
Yeah.
But describe yours for us a little bit, both sort of what style is it in terms of the outside of it, but then also what have you done inside?
Okay, so our van is just a plain white Volkswagen Crafter, long wheelbase. So it's this kind of van. Again, this is very UK, but our delivery vans, DHL vans, are all this sort of size.
Yes.
So that's why we bought it, actually, because we knew that these vans get everywhere. So they must be able
True.
to
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's right. That's a good idea. I'm gonna get an Amazon or a DHL or a FedEx truck.
Exactly. You see these vans absolutely everywhere. So you think, well, they must be able to get everywhere. They must be, you can drive them anywhere. So that's what we started off with. And my heart really is with vintage vehicles. I've been brought up, my dad's a massive vehicle buff. He loves his old cars.
Oh.
He's taken me to all these old car shows when I was a kid, and we've owned lots of old cars. My previous car was a Morris. Again, this is a UK Morris Minor, like a 1960s car. We've had
my boys are both huge car aficionados, so I now know the names of cars that nobody else has heard of, including the Morris. But go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, really good. Yeah. No, I love it. So I was brought up to love old cars. And I would really love a VW T1, T2, but they are difficult to drive. So they are hard work. I mean, we're used to having power steering now and air conditioning, and actually be able to go at some sort of a speed.
Right.
So even though we would have, my heart is with those kind of vehicles, I knew that actually the reality of owning one is you have to be a good mechanic to own one, and you also have to be very patient because it takes a long time to get from A to B. Some people embrace that. They actually put the slow living, the slow drive as part of their enjoyment of owning a camper van. So, but for us, we knew we got to the age where we wanted more comfort to be able to get to A to B quicker, and also not to arrive at the destination exhausted, because even just steering these old vehicles is hard work.
Good
point. It's a good workout.
Yeah, right.
Great if you're young and fit, but actually it takes a lot out of you. So we knew that we would have a newer van because for practical reasons, but because it wouldn't have much, potentially it wouldn't have much character because it was brand new. I wanted to put that character back into the vehicle. So I've designed it in a way that's kind of true to my core style. So it's similar to the style I use in my own house, to be honest.
Okay.
It's like a Scandinavian, warm, light, hard-wearing, practical. And of course, the thing with Scandinavian design, it's all about making the most of the outdoors. Yes. So you have large windows to let the light in and see the beautiful scenery. Lots of wood, that lovely smell of the wood as well.
Oh, yeah.
I use lots of birch face ply, which is really got a lovely grain to it. So I wanted to bring that, my core style, into the van, but as it happens, it lends itself very well, I think, to a camper van anyway, because you don't want to have, in my opinion, obviously you can do what you like, it's your van, but I think you don't need bright colours and that kind of stuff because you've got this amazing view out the back of your van.
Good point.
So it's all about it's all about showcasing that, in my opinion. So I've done it in a Scandinavian style, and my other kind of love is vintage, with vintage vehicles and also vintage homeware. So I've accessorized it with some like a vintage style bedding and cushions and like quite nice kitchenware, that kind of thing. But I've tried to keep it minimal because, again, my style cue was always let's make the most of what the outdoor view is giving us. And as you say, the view is different or can be different every day. So let's use that as our
it's like
prompt.
The artwork. I mean, the windows become the artwork, right?
Exactly.
And what I love most is the paneling that you've done on the ceiling.
Oh yeah, that's the shadow line. Yeah.
Really beautifully outlines the back window where your bed is that you're looking out into. Yeah. I mean, it's just really, the romantic allure of camper vans. I mean, you've definitely hooked me.
So it is romantic. And that shadow line, the ceiling, what I tried to do was I didn't want it, when you use a lot of wood, I'm sure you know all this, a lot of bare wood, you're in danger of it looking like a shed or a sauna.
Sure.
So I tried to mix up the woods. So we've got birch face ply in the kitchen and some of the paneling, just pine cladding on the sides. And then on the ceiling, it's similar pine cladding, but thinner with a black line in between. And that, I think, breaks it up. So it's, it's more about the textures, but also, of course, it's got these lines are pointing your eye down to the back of the van. So it's kind of, even though the view would attract you anyway, it's just enhancing that. It's just pushing your eye down towards the end of the van and that amazing view at the back. Yeah. And when I was designing it and building it with my husband, my my goal was to have this moment where we'd be finished. I could sit in the back of the van on the bed, cup of tea in my hand, the dog to the side, and a view with the back doors over the view, and thinking I think this is going to be my ultimate moment. And I know you can big these things up, and then when you actually achieve it, it's a bit disappointing, but it wasn't disappointing at all. And when that moment came, it was like, this is it, and it's even better than I hoped. And it is that romance you mentioned. It's, you can't, I don't think you can beat it, because it's it doesn't cost you very much.
Right.
It's making the most of nature. You can do it in, you can go for a long trip and get the view. You can go half an hour drive down the road and to a new park, for instance, and get a different view.
Right.
And I think
when you think about these views that we pay for in these hotels that are, $500, $700 a night. And here you are, you just pull up in a park and there you are, you've got this fabulous view.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right there.
And I think I'd rather have that myself. I know this is a very personal, I'd rather have that and do that than stay in a hotel. Because, if your van is done up to a standard, nice enough standard, I'm not saying it has to be, then it's comfortable anyway. I'd rather do that. And we found this season, with the winter, we've had some extra heating put in. So you're still warm and cozy. And I was camping in it last weekend in Brighton at the seaside.
Oh, wonderful. Wow.
And it was 1 degree, but we have got a heater. So we were fine,
So that brings up this question about, what do people use them for? You obviously use them for weekend trips, or, you're not living out of your van, but some people do, correct? And then other people, like you said, just use them almost as an extra bedroom. So tell us a little bit about the different ways that you've seen in doing this book, people use their vans creatively.
Yeah, well, I think, this is the beauty of it. You've got to think of it as a room on wheels. So you can so what can you use a room for? Absolutely anything. Right. So we're using, so for instance, I'm using my van I often use it as an office on my drive as well. If I want some peace and quiet, or I don't want to be disturbed. In fact, I should have done my podcast from here, shouldn't I? Because I didn't get disturbed there, because with no doorbell ringing or anything. One of the vans we photographed was a Mercedes, an old police van. She uses it as her art studio. Yes. Again, it's a vintage vehicle with a huge cab, so it's got windows all on 3 angles.
Right, great light,
amazing light, and amazing space. So she uses it as her art studio. We've used ours as a guest room. We use it as somewhere to eat for a change, go out and cook outside on the drive. I know that sounds weird.
Yes.
But then it's just a case of, in the summer, especially when it's light evenings, let's just drive somewhere and park up by a river and have, I'd rather have a picnic in the back of the van with a nice view than pay for an expensive dinner.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you also talked about different budgets. So, and then that makes you, I think, be creative with the materials that you're going to use inside. But, one that comes to mind that I'm guessing was on the high end. I mean, this blew me away. This person has built in a hot tub.
Oh God, I know. That's incredible, isn't it?
The floor of his van. And then he pulls up and looks at the mountains for skiing. Right. Yeah. Tell us about that one.
Well, that is a horse box, so that is a bigger one. Okay. And because it's a horse box, it's able to carry a lot of weight. So that's dictated his choice of materials. He doesn't have to worry about weight. So he can have that chunky rustic wood and not worry too much about it being too heavy. Yeah. My van wouldn't take that, because it's can only take a certain amount of weight. So I think his 7.5 tons he could take, and the other guy with the horse box has done the same thing. They've literally weighed everything they're putting into the van to make sure it's not going over.
Interesting.
So but it does mean they can use much heavier materials. Right. And but again, that both his horse boxes, they've been able to use reclaimed scaffold planks, old chunky woods to get that rustic look, but also that kind of rustic wood is often free. You can just get it, you find it. People don't want it. So they've been able to do that on a really tight budget, because again, everything they've sourced for the van is people are throwing away. And I know that, for instance, the other horse box, that 90% of their van is reclaimed. Amazing. So really, it's not the cost of the materials; it's your time. So that's the real cost.
And like you said, the mechanics, like you've got to,
the skills,
the mechanic, like probably the money is really in the initial buy of the van, right? And making
Yeah,
sure it's working properly mechanically and all that.
exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
again, all of the vans in there, I think I've talked about how they've got them, what they spent on them, or if not the actual cost, but what they were looking for. And
Hmm.
some of them, often in the UK, the best kind of van to get is one that's kind of low mileage. It doesn't matter
Okay.
how old it is, as long as it's got low mileage, and because
Right.
they go on for hundreds of thousands of miles. A lot of these van engines. So, and a couple of the younger guys who've done them, so girls actually, they've done it themselves with their dad, and you can buy.
Yeah.
You can adapt IKEA interior fittings to go in the van,
Yes.
which again are low cost. So they've
Well, IKEA is great because everything's already small, right? It's already meant
small
for
and it's
city
light.
living and
Yeah,
it's light. So, right, I
yeah.
could see a lot of like IKEA is
Scandinavian, yeah.
perfect and
But
Scandinavian.
but back to the guy with the hot tub. So his thing was he wanted to buy a chalet in France in the Alps to go skiing, and they
Yeah.
are. I don't know if you know about this, but
Oh,
they're millions. They're
oh, of
millions.
course they
And
are.
but he had built a camper van before, so he got hold of this horse box. I think this is pandemic. He had time,
Yeah.
and he converted it into his dream ski chalet. So he
Oh,
hand built the kitchen again, all reclaimed. The windows, for instance, are old fridge doors, like clear glass fridge doors. They've
oh,
got the right specification; they don't break, and the
love
right
it.
thermal properties.
Okay.
He built in some couple of little bunks for his niece and nephew if they wanted to stay over. And his thing was when he goes skiing, he really feels the cold. So after his day of skiing, he wanted to find somewhere. He wanted to go somewhere he could warm up. So what better than a hot tub? He put a tank underneath again because it's a lorry. You got a room underneath. You could put a tank underneath
Wow.
there, and which held the water to fill the hot tub up with, and then
Yeah.
of course you can drain it away into there afterwards as well. That was his
Wow.
priority. These people, all of these guys that have done these vans, they've thought about their priorities, and it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
how mad that priority is. If it's what you want and it makes you happy, like any good design, then
Exactly.
you have it, and that was his
Yeah.
priority, was to have this hot tub.
Love it.
And he's done it, and he has done it. So his other great design feature there, which I think you might ask me about in a minute, is what amazingly good features have you found. And he has put his bed is obviously at bed level, but it goes right up into the ceiling. So if you've got a higher van, which again you
Uh-huh.
could probably have more of those in the States, you've got room to store a bed in the ceiling.
Yep.
So then he brings it down. So he brings it down, but so it goes up, and this hot tub's revealed, but the underside of the bed has got 700 fairy lights built into it.
Yes.
So he's in
Oh,
his hot tub looking out at the Alps with a lovely roof of fairy lights, and that was the
it's
one that
magical. It's
magic.
magical.
And he did
Yeah.
everything himself, every
Oh my
single,
gosh.
it's all designed and built himself. So yeah,
Wow.
he had the time, he had the skills, and his skills,
Yes.
he's not trained in this. He's just learned
Okay.
it. He's just like any, I don't know about you, but the really good designers I've come across, it's trial and error. They've
Yeah.
just done
Oh,
it,
absolutely.
hands dirty, get in there, make mistakes. And
Exactly.
this is not his first van. This is about his third van. So he's learned a lot
Okay.
from previous ones, and they
Right.
say 70% of people who build a van will go on and do another one and do it differently that
Really?
time. You've got
Interesting.
to,
Well, yeah, because
yeah,
I think you get bit by the bug. Like, oh, what could I do
yeah.
next? And so okay. So let's talk about some other design choices that surprised you, or that you just really that stand out to you.
The blue French one.
Yep.
It's a French. He's called Benoit, and he's just used. He didn't buy anything. He's used all materials that he's found, right down to the fabric. He found it and he dyed it himself with using, I think, turmeric
Oh
to
yeah.
get the color. So
Yeah.
I really like the idea of just adapting it, whatever you can find, and adapting it to your vision.
Yeah, there's everything in here from this sort of, I mean, you've got one that's like a surf shack, right? Because they literally love to go surfing. And so
Yeah,
for the
they do.
whole
Yeah.
aesthetic, and then you've got others that are kind of more campy, what I think of is, at least in America, like in the Adirondacks, very,
Mm,
kind of retro,
mm.
campy feeling. And then you've got very boho. You've also got this really, I don't know if this is tile in here, but it looks like old blue and white, and maybe that's the French one you were just talking about.
Oh,
This,
that's one of the horse boxes, I think. Yeah, that was
oh,
probably
maybe.
reclaimed tiles. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
But
gosh. I mean, it looks like French country kitchen to me.
Yeah, it does. It does, doesn't it, that one? So the back to the surf shack one. So that couple, they actually met while they both worked in a surf shack, and the boyfriend of the couple is a surf instructor. So that van was designed around the width of a surfboard. So they wanted their first, again, back to design, what's their first priority? And it was to be able to store their surfboard safely and snugly. So the benches either side of the van are exactly the right dimension to fit a surfboard underneath. So that storage solution is perfect. And it dictated how they laid the van out and what dimensions they used for certain things. So that was really clever. And they've used an archway in that design as well, which I thought was a lovely romantic.
Yes,
reminded me of Bali, and that and they used a lot of the fabrics and materials you'd find just washed up on a beach, like driftwood, palm leaves. I think they've got palm leaves in that van as well. So, and they have a palm theme going on. So I love the way they kind of brought in the surf, not just surfing, but this where you'd find surfing, the Hawaii, all those California, those kind of elements around those beaches, like such as palm tree. They've brought that into the design as well.
When you mentioned storage, and that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. These vans remind me of ships, and I've always been, growing up on the ocean from Maine to Florida. I have a love affair with the ocean and ships and all that kind of stuff. But what I always loved as a girl about ships was how clever the storage was and how much you could fit into this ship and how you had everything you needed in one very small place. And this is what this reminds me of. So off the top of your head, can you think of a couple of really clever storage solutions that you saw in writing this book?
Yeah, well,
the surfboards, of course, are very clever.
So the surfboards are very clever. You're absolutely right. With camper vans are an absolute masterclass, a lesson in storage being the thing that you need. And every van, it doesn't matter what design they went for. They went for a rustic design or a modern design. There was every single nook and cranny is used for storage. A lot of them they hang things from the ceiling. So that again, any headspace, any width, any floor space is used for storage. This guy, the Indian couple, they've got their bikes stored in there against a wall.
Amazing.
So particularly minimal design. So there's another French van, I can't remember, the green one with a big circle window. They've used their materials are completely streamlined, and the whole look of the van is again back to what I said about the view being the main thing. They've got they've pared it right back, so their storage is all hidden. You can't even see where the drawer openings are. There's no drawer feature at all. So I think that kind of thing is if you're trying to have a modern looking van or a minimalist van, then storage is even more key. It has to be hidden. If you've got if you're more into the kind of bohemian look or the rustic look, then storage is obviously just as important, because things aren't allowed to move around obviously when you're driving, but it can be more decorative. I think you can have it showing more. So in my van, for instance, I've got a lot of hidden storage, like under the floor, for instance. I've got a wine cellar in the floor of my van.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, I love it. Okay.
I think I showed it in the van. I think
very smart.
I want to think I'm an alcoholic. But, what was I going to say?
Well, storage can be a little bit more decorative, or depending on your style.
Exactly. And I think of some of the vans I've shown that we've got like baskets hanging on the wall, and the baskets obviously they're good storage, but they also add a texture to a certain design style.
Right.
They're easy access. They divide things up in a way that you wouldn't necessarily know. I think it's thinking about what your interior design is in that van, and then using what you have to enhance it. So again, with mine, I got this Scandi vintage, so I've got old bags hanging up, like lovely old bags hanging on hooks as my storage as well. So it adds to the look, and it's useful.
Exactly.
I think Joseph in his horse box has used old crates with old lettering on. So that's part of his decor as well. The texture and the vintage lettering is part of his decor. Others have just got their storage, so it's not visible. So it's not part of their design. So it's hidden. It's completely
hidden.
Visible.
Yeah. Well, there's so many great ideas. I'm going to ask you a question that I feel like you've sort of answered, because I can just feel the enthusiasm and the love and the joy in your voice about this adventure that you've taken on by owning and really using your camper van. But is there one thing you've learned about yourself or life in general from this lifestyle or this adventure that you're on?
I think really to really enjoy these little pockets of happiness that you can create for yourself just by owning a van. So you can be anything from just a cup of tea on your drive. It's a change of scenery. So you're doing, all you're doing is using it as somewhere for a change of scenery when it's parked up. Or you can drive it a short way and have another change of scenery and dinner in this different place. A short, maybe just like an afternoon trip.
Right.
You can have a day. You can go for a day trip and a bit further, or you can go for miles and for weeks. So your adventure, your trip or your change can be a few hours or a few weeks or months, or even just living in there. And it's whatever size you want to make it. And I think that's I love freedom, and I love the idea of being able to escape. And the fact it's on my drive and I can just get it and go at a very short notice.
Right.
To me is like everything. And I think I feel that more since the pandemic, because we were quite trapped for a while, weren't we? And so that was taken up. That thing we took for granted was taken away for a short time. So I think I for one appreciate it even more.
Right.
So I love the idea of this home from home that you've designed yourself with love, and you designed it around your own taste and how you make yourself feel good. For me to feel good, I need to feel cocooned and surrounded by things I love. And I think that's completely true of a home, of any space. I'm using those same rules for any interior project,
right?
Domestic interiors project, and just putting it into a van and treating that van as a room, as your space to feel good in, and then it happens to be on wheels, so you can then take it away and have any kind of small, medium, or large adventure in it. And I like the idea of, I just love the idea of this. You don't ever get homesick because you're at home.
right. I don't
oh my gosh,
Dee, I think you're making it like everyone who's listening to this is about to go out and buy a camper. I mean, like, I can't think of anything better.
And I think you can start. To be honest, I think you can. I know this costs money, and I know everything's tight at the moment, but you can do it. I think you can use this van as your daily vehicle as well. This can be your daily vehicle, and you can. My dad, when I was young, he had just a transit van. If you've got 4 transits over there, but he used it as his daily van for work. And then when it was holiday time, he would empty all his tools out, put in 2 planks either side of the van, and just clamp them in. That was the one was a cooker. Him and my mum would sleep in the middle. I'd sleep along the back behind the seats on a plank. My brother would sleep on the front seats on a plank. So you can get that, you can escape in something that's quite basic, and just to start you off with, and it's dry and it's warm and you won't, it's safe.
It's safe,
and it's quick. Again, we don't have to, before we leave to go anywhere, you have to do virtually nothing. You have to just, like, if you're going overnight, literally just grab a few clothes, shove them in the drawer, and you can go. I've got basic food in there already.
Well, the idea of waking up in the morning on a weekend, and let's say you don't have a lot of plans, and right then and there, you know what? I think I feel like driving out to the beach today.
Yeah, exactly. Or the woods, or again with the book, I try to show that people are in different places. Some people are in the mountains, some are in the woods, some are by the sea, some are by the river. And I wanted to get another one that we couldn't do it in the end, but that was an urban one. So this lovely van had been done, and they just drove it around and parked it around London.
Interesting.
So, so you can have this urban, so you can make this mini pocket holiday anywhere.
I love it. A pocket holiday. I love it.
And you're surrounded, but you've created this space to your own taste, or within your own budget, and to your own skills. But I talk about my core style quite a lot in the book as well, and what the core style is of the person who's done the van. And many of them have said they would use whatever they've done to their van is exactly what they would do to their house as well. That style. Yes. One of the young couples, they've done it. They've been very inspired by hotel living. They're hotel bloggers, but they did a van again in the pandemic because they couldn't go in hotels. So they've used elements of design that they've seen in hotels they've stayed in, such as a swing in the doorway.
Yes.
And they saw that in Bali, and they wanted to bring that into this space of theirs. And they've done things like they've got lovely fluffy dressing gowns hanging on hooks and expensive soap dispensers in their little bathroom. And it's little touches, but it makes them feel like they're in a hotel, and that's what makes them happy and comfortable. So that's not, that's their core style,
Yes.
And it's a personal thing for everybody.
It's an interesting exercise to think, okay, if you only had a certain amount of square footage to do for yourself, you really quickly narrow down what you truly love.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You are so limited, which is of course what I think is, you and I both, when we're talking about styling, we're talking about the importance of that, of loving every single thing. And I like to say everything has to deserve the space it takes up in your home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it certainly does in a van, right? I mean, it had to.
Obviously, it's more practical thing. You have to think about more practical things in a van first. Obviously, you've got to think, like for instance, my priority was to have a fixed bed. I didn't want to be messing around with folding a bed into a seating system, because I just wanted like I said to you before, my vision was to be sat on this bed looking at a view with a cup of tea, and I want that as soon as I arrive. But that comes at a cost to other things. So I couldn't have a bathroom, for instance, because there wasn't enough room for that because of the bed. That was the price you pay. And maybe I might change the layout at some point and have that, your taste change. And the beauty of these things, with these vans, is that they are just, everything is changeable. You put it in, these wooden structures can come out as easily as they go in. And for instance, one of them, Max McMurdo's converted ambulance, I don't know if you noticed that one.
Oh yeah, the ambulance, right?
Yeah, everything is you can take out everything very quickly. It's all it just slots in and clips in. And you can slide it all, like slide the bed out, the kitchen out, everything comes out to leave an empty space for other purposes.
Amazing.
So that was his priority, was he wanted it to be a work van when he needed it. So everything had to be able to come out. So you've got to think about your practical needs first, and then think about your taste and how you want to feel in that van, or how you want to feel in any space, and take it from there. So and but again, it's your core style. You have what you like, and if you like bright colors or patterns, have that, of course. But I do feel that the adventure itself and the space, what you're seeing outside the van, that whole biophilic thing, really should be able to take center stage. You don't want anything to fight with that, because patterns or colors, I think, but that's because it's already beautiful, and that's what you want to focus on.
Exactly. That's why you're leaving in the first place.
Exactly.
Well, we sort of are dancing around this question, so I'll just ask you directly.
Sorry, I'm such a waffle.
No, oh my gosh, not at all. You're so delightful to listen to. But my signature question, which is why does style matter? Like I said, we're kind of dancing around it here, but do you want to answer that a little bit more directly?
I think style matters because your surroundings, whether or not you realize it, make you feel good or bad. They can really affect how you feel. And I think, the minute you go into your house and you've got a side table that you've had to inherit, or you've bought quickly without thinking about it, that's there in your house, and every day you're like, oh, that table, and it might not even be registering, but it's annoying you, and it's just niggling at you, isn't it? But if you've got something there that you love, that you've taken some time to source, and you found it, and you maybe restored it or done something or anything, it's got a story with it. Right. For me, it's antique mirrors. I love sourcing antique mirrors, and you've looked for it, and you spent a lot of time finding the right one, and you got this sense of satisfaction that it's the right thing, and maybe it's got a story. So you get into your house and you see that, and you're like, and it puts you into a good mood already. I think, and so everything, I think, should make you feel that way. And I think we're on the same page here, and I know that's not always possible, but you should strive to make everything you have in your house make you feel yourself and able to relax. And when you can relax and be your best self, then life is better.
It's better. It just is, right? And I liked what you said about you might not even realize that little side table is bothering you, because it does seem kind of insignificant. You walk right past it, it's you're not even thinking about it, but there's something about it niggling at your brain. I love that word, that it does affect you. You just might not even realize it. But if you change it, then all of a sudden, and then you think, oh, wow, it really was affecting me.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's underrated. That how much your surroundings affect you.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think so. Style matters at home. It affects your whole mood. It affects your whole. It's your whole. I think it's, if you're a visual person, especially, it's a foundation. Mm-hmm. It's quite a big foundation, and if you can feel safe and happy and lifted at home, then you can be the best version of yourself. And I think, to me, it's very important. That's important to me. I think it becomes more important as you get older as well. I think your priorities change, and you want to feel cocooned and safe and nurtured. I think that's my thing, and that's why I love small spaces. I love to feel cocooned and nurtured. And I think I've always been obsessed with small spaces. So a camper van, you almost have to, it's two separate things. You forget it's on wheels. Think of it as a room, and design that space to make you feel lovely and that lovely feeling. And then it's on wheels too. So you can then take your lovely space and have an adventure in it. And the inside is decorated to how you want and makes you feel good. But the view at the back is different every day. You've got a different garden every day. So it's the best of many worlds, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, we are all like, I'm smiling from ear to ear because your love for this is so infectious. And
thank you.
It's just such a fun book because it's so inspiring, and it's just so fun to see all the creativity that has gone into these and all the different points of view that these people bring to the book. And I'm so glad you've included yours as well. Dee, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us today.
Oh my God, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, I hope that was helpful and inspiring. Don't forget to sign up for the upcoming free masterclass, The Number One Reason Your Home Doesn't Look and Feel How You Want It to. You have 4 times to choose from when I'll be presenting the workshop live and then staying on for Q&A. Go to littleyellowcouch.com and click on Masterclass right at the top. Have a great week. Bye for now.